Hello, everyone. My name is Ling, and I'm an English teacher at Vinh University. Today, I am really honored to be a speaker at the VIA conference. So, my research topics today is computer-based concept mapping, a technique to improve EFL students' reading comprehensions. Now, let's get started. So my research will have 5 parts. The first one is the introduction. The next, I will focus on the research background. Then the methodology will be shown in my research. Next one, the results will be reviewed. And last but not least, the conclusion will be made for this research. Now, the first part of the introduction. So in Vietnam, the instructors or somehow the students seldom teach the learners how to use the strategies effectively to improve students' reading comprehensions. They can teach students to use skewing or skinning strategies, or sometimes they try to use the mind map or the concept mapping to have students understanding the reading effectively. So concept mapping can be considered as a strategy to have the learners organize the information through visual aids, while a concept map is a diagram showing the relationship amongst the concepts. It means that when a learner is processing the information, concept mapping can stimulate his or her metacognitive awareness so that it can assist the learners not only to establish an appropriate monitoring strategies, but it also increase the use of retrieving and memorizing the knowledge. But in from any experience, I will see that the way of improving students' reading abilities using the mind mapping or the concept mapping has several limitations. So two limitations are noteworthy in the process of drawing concept mapping using traditional paper pencil methods are the first one. If the concept map involves a lot of concepts, it may be too complicated to use conveniently. And the second, with the traditional paper pencil method, the instructor cannot conveniently improve the immediate feedback to each learner. So with the rapid of the development of technology in the recent years, so we don't need to use the mind mapping or the concept mapping with the pen or the papers and the pencil. Now the computer assisted concept maps have offered solutions to the limitations of the traditional paper pencil method. So compared to the paper-based maps or the traditional style mappings, the computer-assisted maps may facilitate the modifications of nodes and links and made it easier to draw and revise the structure. And moreover, the computer-assisted concept maps can combine with the multimedia system to present the reading content in the ways that give the learner a strong impressions of the articles. So I will come to the next part with the research background. So here, as we can see that all kind of learners can benefit a lot by using the concept mapping. So when adopt to concept mapping in the readings, the learner will have to learn to confirm the concept of the topic, working from each character to words, sentences, paragraph, and to arrange a concept around the main concept. So from one main concept, we can draw other concept. Right? So learners must link and align the relationship of some concept and then comprehend the whole essays. Okay, this construct process is bottom-up reading comprehensions. And various concept mapping strategies has been developed in the recent years. The strategies can link with the related notes. Concept maps is mostly widely used, and it can be classified in two categories. So there are two approaches. One is the learner constructed concept map. The other is expert constructed concept map. And here's another two approach from Fishers, Glittman, and Glittman 1991. So the concept here, it can be inner to the outers. So have a one main concept, and it creates other concept, or uppers to the lowers. Okay, so uppers is one main concept, and it makes other lower concept. So the purpose of my study is to investigate the effect of computer-assisted concept mapping learning strategies on EFL college learners' English reading comprehensions. And to fulfill that purpose, my research will focusing on two research questions. The first one is, what was the influence of the computer-assisted concept mapping learning strategies on different learners' English reading comprehensions? The second one is, did the computer-assisted concept mapping learning strategies affect the learner use of other English reading strategies? Come to the methodology. First of all, I want to introduce the samplings here, or the participant. So I have created two groups. The first one is experimental groups with 94 students, and the second one is a control group with 98 students. So both groups were freshman English students, and their English level input was intermediate level. So this research is conducted in Vinh University, Vietnam, and in the Foreign Languages Department. So all the groups, experimental groups and the control group, are instructed by the same teachers. So with the instruments, the researchers will give the student, the participant, 9 articles. They are English magazines with the length from 3,000 to 5,000 words. They can be novels and lively. So the reading text provided by the magazine were employees for the assessment of the students' reading in this research. The purpose of the test was to evaluate the subject's English ability after they read the articles. So on the test sheets, there were 22 reading comprehension questions. The test time was 60 minutes. The reliability of the test was 72 to 80. So the questionnaires. The questionnaires is a revised version of Young questionnaires, the versions of 2003, which includes 3 questions with the current spike is 0 for 83, and a 5-point Likert scale is used. Okay, the agreement here is never, seldom, sometimes, often, and score. So the higher the score is, the greater the agreement of the statement is. So the participant will have to complete the questionnaires about 20 minutes. And the software used for the mind mapping, for the concept mapping here, is the inspiration software. So this software have to build strong foundations of thinking and comprehensions. So here is the 13 questions in the questionnaire according to the Young's questionnaire. Right. This is a form number 1 to 13. And in these 36 questions, 6 reading strategies application: listing, inferring, elaborating, summarizing, evaluating, and reviewing. So the analytical tools here I'm going to use a t test and the two-way ANOVA. So it will create the results after 2 analytical tools. So as I have mentioned, we have 6 reading strategies applications here: leading, elaborating, evaluating, inferring, summarizing, and reviewing. I can see, like, for example, the first question and the second question will focus on the first strategies. I will mark the key points in the original text. I will take notes even on the key points which were marked before. Or the inferring strategies. At the question 3, I will speculate about author's intentions in the writing these articles, and others question with other strategies. So I want to introduce the 5 Likert scale. So we will have a range from the agreement, seldom, sometimes, often, always, to go with the questionnaires. So next, I want to introduce you the software inspiration. So this is a very popular software that can combine diagrams and outlines together to form the concept map. Let's take an example to see how the inspiration software works. The example here is the cultural differences being on time. So these are examples of the inspiration software, and you can see. So they will have a lot of concepts, right? So this concept, it can be up to downs, or maybe inner outer use both. So they have several concepts here, and they create more and more information and concept with this software. And this software is a lot of ways. There is a lot of styles. You can see a lot of ways to create here, as you can see. So next, let's come to the reading strategies instructions. Okay, so along with the teaching procedures, how to make the concept mapping reading strategies. Okay, so first of all, the teachers will have to choose one theme for the articles, right? One theme for the articles. Then they will ask students to find the main ideas and then supporting ideas. They also have to exclude all the irrelevant ideas, then mark out the hierarchical relationship amongst the ideas, and then connect the idea with lines and markings. With the procedures. So the procedures here is we will have two groups called experimental groups and controls group. So experimental group with 94 students and controls group with 98 students. And we will have the, they will do a pretest to define they as a good readers at the beginning or the poor readers at the beginning. Okay, so the M score for the experiment groups is 54.72, and the M for the controls group is 56.54. Okay, all right. So the experiment lasted of 10 weeks, and every class period was 2 hours a week. Before the experimental process was carried out, the subjects was given a pre-reading test and complete a pre-reading strategies application questionnaires. The 4 classes of the student are totals of 192 intermediate English proficiency level of freshmen participated collectively in pre-test during the first week, so that the information about the subject study English ability and reading strategies application could be collected. So the researchers chose subjects from 2 classes as experimental group and students from the other 2 classes as the control group. For the experiment classes, the instructors adopted computer-assisted concept mapping reading strategies instructed in teaching. As for the control group, the instructors use traditional instructions. For example, the vocabularies and the grammar teaching in the class. So in both experimental and the control group, students whose score were above average grade in the reading comprehensions of the pretest were defined as good readers, while the others were defined as the poor readers. And I have to mention the score already. The instructor will then introduce at the second and the third week, they will introduce the ideas of the concept map and the function of inspiration softwares in the subjects in the experimental group. Also, as a part of the concept mapping reading strategies teaching, the subjects practice their first concept mappings with 3 articles from an English magazine. And then they were, as the first practice was the complete, the researchers administered the readings 1 in the 4th week. And in the 5th and in the 6th week, the subjects complete their second concept map practice with the 3 articles. And then the second reading test 2 was to conduct in the 7 weeks. So in the 8th and in the 9th week, the subject completed their third concept map practice with 3 more articles. The 3 more articles. And then the reading test 3 and the post-reading strategies applications questionnaire were complete by the students in the 10th week. Well, for the 3 concept mapping assessment that the subject candidate, the researchers adopt a scoring system of Novak and Odwin and classify the score according to the topics assigned, okay, 1 point for a meaningful science topic. The course link and the example as well. So let's come to the results. So the researchers have found out after a lot of pre-tests and the other tests. Here is students' performances on the pre-test and the other tests. So the findings were based on 4 reading tests, which is taken by both the experimental groups and the control groups. So the pre-test aimed to test the subject's reading ability before the treatment, and the students in the experimental groups were trained in the concept mapping reading strategies 3 times during the period in which the subsequent 3 tests was given. So the result t-test confirmed that there was no significant difference in the pre-test of the 2 groups. So there is no significance. Okay, so in the table 2, you also see that the test 3 has no significant difference until week 10, that the experimental group outperformed the controls group. So in the test 1 and test 2, you can see that the test 1, the P is 0.12, and test 2, the P is 0.21. So it's not until the week 10 that the experiment groups outperform the control groups in the test 3, that the values here is 0.0. So that is the computer-assisted concept mapping reading training required time before the effect could be seen. So at the beginning with the test 1 and test 2, maybe we not really see the significant results. But when it comes to the test 3, the effects show complete the difference and show effectiveness in the using assisted computer concept mappings. So when we come back with the first table, you will see that no significant interaction was found between the use of the concept mapping reading strategies and student levels, right? So, but you already see the significant interactions between the concept mapping reading strategies and student levels on the test 2 and test 3. Okay, you will see that. And with the NOVA analysis. So here is the NOVA analysis of the differences between the performance of the experimental and the control group of the different level student on test 2 and test 3. Right. So the concept mapping reading strategies may result in the significant difference on test 2, but not test 3. So in the table 3, as you can see that for the poor readers, they use the use of computer-assisted concept mapping. Result strategies was associated with the significant differences as shown on test 2 and test 3 as well. But for the good readers, the use of concept mapping strategies result in significant differences on the test, but not in the test 3, as you can see. So in both test 2 and test 3, the poor readers who use the concept mapping strategies outperform those who did not. And also these results indicate that the concept mapping reading strategies has more continuous effect on the poor readers than on the good readers. So according to the one-way ANOVA results shown in this table 4, so there was no significant difference between good and poor readers of the experimental groups on test 2 and test 3. However, the significant differences can be seen between good and the poor readers of the control groups. So the improvement of the poor readers was greater than the improvement of the good readers. So this is the dependent t-test of pre and post questionnaires of the two groups. And as you can see that the post test show there were the significant differences between the two groups. Okay, the experiment groups score higher than the control group. So it means that students or the subjects who use the computer assisted concept mappings have more effective in the reading than the controls group. So, to summarize, the concept mapping reading strategies was more effective than the traditional reading strategies to improve the reading comprehensions of the poor readers. Okay, but for the good readers, we need to consider more because the significant differences between the control and experimental groups were not always found. So with the good readers, whether they use the concept mappings and whether they use the paper-based mapping, they also have ability to read it, the articles effectively. And it seems that the concept mapping reading strategies are not always contribute to enhance the English reading abilities of the good readers. So it needs another measurements to prove the differences between the two groups. So in conclusions, as I can see here, is that the computer-assisted concept mapping reading strategies has real positive effects on the learners' reading abilities. So the concept mapping can help students to analyze the structures of the article, connect the concept in it. So the learners can build appropriate strategies and recall the content of the article, which can be forgotten due to checking vocabulary procedures. So furthermore, learners can also review the contents and guess or infer the meanings of vocabulary when they understand the articles as a whole through the concept mapping. Moreover, the concept mapping reading strategies as a meta-cognitive strategies, learners can evaluate their own learning outcomes as they monitor their learning. And last but not least, the concept mapping reading strategies are more effective than traditional reading strategies for poor readers. So with the good readers, maybe we need a further research to prove that. And here is some of my citations for my research. Okay, so that's all about my research. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you.